Hey everyone, welcome to Ellis Mowers. I appreciate y'all watching the channel as always. If you do follow my channel and watch every video, first off, thank you. Second off, y'all probably saw that I did not have a Wednesday video this week. And I explained that kind of on my Instagram and Facebook. Just, we're pushing hard finishing up the house and just a lot of other housekeeping things that I had to do around here. Plus, I ran out of content from the winter. I don't get a lot of lawn action 4 months out of the year here in North Carolina, and so I have to kind of stock up some videos, and I wasn't really able to get anything worked on in a video film. So again, we're back. I will do my best to get 2 videos out a week. It may take a couple of weeks to get back up to that point, but it's my neighbor there. But we're going to get there. This video is going to consist of a straight shaft weed eater. It is a Toro. You'll notice that I've done quite a few of these here in the past couple of months, and that's mostly because HiPA has generously partnered with me, and they've been sending me some nice carb kits for these weed eaters. Otherwise, this wouldn't really be cost effective for me to do as a flipper, but for you as a homeowner, if you're fixing your own device, spending 20 bucks on a carb kit is a lot cheaper than going out and buying $100 and some odd weed eater. So makes sense for some of y'all that are watching this, and I think that's who they cater to. They cater to a lot of those folks that want to work on their own stuff. Their motto is fixing machines can be easier. So so far we've had good luck. This one hopefully is going to be the same. It is a Toro weed eater, like I mentioned, and we're going to go ahead and get started working on it here now. Alright, so let me give you a look. It took me a little bit to figure out what carb kit I needed to get for it. Hopefully I got the right one. I looked up the model number. Luckily I was able to find it on this weed eater. Again, this is a straight shaft weed eater. Somebody's changed the head. I do not like these heads to this quick attach head. Weed eaters seem to vibrate and never really run right with these. But this does have one of those quick attach features. Toro weed eater you don't really see a lot of. I do not know who made Toro weed eaters, but I can show you at least the model number here, and I can show you make date and all that stuff. So this is a 2011. It was born March 30th of 2011, so happy 11th birthday, weed eater. 51974 is the model number. That's what I used to find this carb kit. And I do want to mention that you notice that I use this box here as just a prop. Every other one that I have got from HiPA has come in a box. This one came in this little made in China packet, and I think the reason being is this is probably a low volume model for them, and also got it off of their eBay site. So I will link that in the description below. They do have an eBay store, but their main thing is HiPA360.com and Amazon. So I could not find it on those two. I had to do a little searching, but they still had this. Like I said, I'll put it in the link below. This is a 25cc. You're talking about an entry-level weed eater. This carb is a little interesting, and I've never seen a setup like this before. I'll show it to you. You have an external primer bulb down here. We're going to try and do our best to pay close attention to how the fuel lines are routed. That's kind of been my main downfall. But we have... I'm just going to unscrew this. We should be able to get this air filter off. So the air filter is a little rough. Like crumbly rough. Did this come with an air filter? I think it did. All in all, it looks like a fairly easy... Yeah, this looks like a fairly easy job, honestly. But let's see what we got in the packet here. There's our fuel line. I kind of already broke into this a little bit. Did not have an air filter, so I will need to improvise on that a little bit, but we will make that work. Again, I had to do a little bit of searching to find this mess, so it's not like it was the easiest thing to get. There's the carb for it. It is a non-adjustable one. All the other ones that I have been adjustable ones. So this is kind of makes me think that it may be like a Ryobi or somebody that may have bought this or gotten this. There's your gaskets, and you have a fuel filter and primer bulb. A little bit less than what I got in all the other packets. Again, like I said, this is probably a pretty low volume model for them. They probably don't keep a lot of stock, and probably outsource this one more. And because, you know, why market something that you're not going to sell a lot of? Totally understand that. I'm just thankful they had it. So we'll improvise on the air filter. We'll make that work. I'm not terribly concerned about that. We have an external primer bulb right here. It looks like when we take this off, we do have to take the throttle cable off here, and there is a coil wire. A couple of wires that we got to take off. Looks like coil wires. Let me get is that a T20? It looks like more like a T25. Let me get the tools we need, and we'll get this thing off. Yeah, I was right. T25. Gonna work this. We'll get this off. Just need one of these little screwdriver attachments. One thing I do check before I order a carb kit for Weedeaters is will they pop off? In terms of, like, I throw 2-cycle mix down the carb and test it out. If they fire off and run off of that, I will usually take the leap and get carb kits. Especially a straight shaft Weedeater like this, it's going to probably fetch $60 to $70. If I can get this done in an hour and only have $20 in it, you know, $40 an hour is not, for an hour of work, is not a bad thing. These screws are actually really long. So let me take these completely out. Looks like they're like a two-fold. They screw into the block and screw into the carburetor. So they are, like I mentioned, fairly long. We'll get them off here. Come on. Oh, they got a little Loctite on. That's why they're a little difficult to get in the block there. Okay, so let's see if I can. Okay, we pop that off. Now, like I mentioned, we gotta get this throttle off. Maybe I can muster that without. Okay, I did. So now, all right. So this is. If I take the coil wires off here, that's easy enough. So let's take a note of how the fuel lines are, right? So, because this is always something that I mess up, and I hate when I do it, but I do it. All right, let's take the camera. We're gonna look at the gas tank too. Let me get the gas cap off. All right. I've even got one of these little grommets on this one. Hopefully it's not going to leak. Luckily it's on the top. These fuel lines actually look like they were replaced at one point. So we have the return line. The return line comes from the top portion of the primer bulb down into the Weedeater. Our supply line comes from the fuel filter to this bottom tab on the carburetor. So when we put it in, it's going to look like that, and it's going to go right into there. So we do have the right carb, it looks like. That's always a good thing. And then we have a secondary line that goes from the carb on the bottom right there on the bottom left to the bottom portion of the it's like it's going to the bottom of the primer bulb, which would make sense because it's gonna suck. Let's see, we're gonna make sure, do my best to explain this. So it looks like the large nipple goes on the bottom, and the large nipple is the one that blows. So that actually wouldn't make sense. So it actually needs to go like, does it? So the large nipple blows. And what it's going to do is it's going to suck it through the fuel line. So this one is the one that needs to be the one pushing. And I think this got lowered whenever we did it. So that's the orientation. We're going to have the nipple on the bottom. This is going to be pushing gas back into the tank as a return line. And then this little nipple on the is the one that sucks. So it's going to suck gas from the fuel filter through the carburetor out this line into the primer bulb out to the tank return line. So help me remember that, guys. I usually don't. I'm usually not smart enough to do that. We can go ahead and take off these fuel lines. They're not in terrible shape. They just have expanded and they have dry rotted a little bit and gotten really hard. I can tell. It looks like these are aftermarket lines. We will take and keep the clips as well. I'll get them off. Just put them in a nice spot. And what we'll do next is we're just going to pull the fuel line, so we should just be able to pull the return line up. If it breaks off, so be it. Not replacing them. And I'll pull this main line down. Probably just cut it off and feed it through the there. To get the fuel filter off, let me get some tools. I want to do my best to try and show the whole process here for y'all. Let me cut the line off right there. Of course, it fell right there where I can't get it. That's the worst that happens on this repair. I'll take it. We'll get some these angle pliers down here, and I'm just going to literally just pull this down out of the plastic or out of that rubber piece. See, I mean, even the fuel filter is still in good shape. I might even salvage that. I don't know. It's got a little bit of paper. I get fuel filters all the time. Maybe not. So we'll pull this line off. We'll save the clips, and we will do what we need to here. So that's how to get it off. This thing should just come. Should it come off? We want to be really careful with this gasket here because we don't want to tear anything. Really careful, really careful. It is taking some gasket with it, but I think we've got one that we can put on there to replace it with. Oh yeah, it's actually taken with it pretty good, so that's kind of like that is a huge gasket there. That thing's part of the Weedeater. I think, do we have one that can fit right there? Yes. Not really. Might just have to hit it and hope here, guys. It's not fully complete like I like it, but sometimes you get a mishmash here of gaskets and whatnot. I might see if I can find one in sourcing. It really does stink though, because we need to have that one. But this gasket is obviously the one that matches with this on the other side. So I wonder if I can take this and punch a little hole, because I want to do my best to see if I can save the gasket here. Let me just put it up on here and see if I can punch a little hole through it. There you go. Okay, we might be able to make this work, y'all. When in doubt, punch it out, right? Custom gasket making here. Just do your best not to split it. I'll take some of this residue off of the back of it. And now we now I have a custom gasket. There you go. All right. I think what I'm going to do next is route the fuel lines. That's probably going to be the easier thing to do. And remember what I said about the fuel lines. how to route them. Do y'all remember? I'm already have forgotten, kind of. I have to go back to the videotape and look. See if I can get this line on. This is not terribly necessary to have these clips on. At least the fuel filter, it may be on the actual carb itself. We'll see though. Like I said, let me check to make sure this tank is actually very clean, so I don't really even have to touch that, which is awesome. I'm going to take some fuel line and get that in there next. I will route the fuel filter. I should have enough line here because it's really short run except for the fuel filter. We clean my hands, and maybe we'll route the line here on camera. One thing you can do is pop this off, but I'm going to keep it on and we're going to route it like this. It's not terribly difficult. I've already got some of these out. What am I doing? So you're going to just, what I like to do a lot of times is just cut an edge off of these. Kind of like that. What that allows me to do is it allows me to get it started in the fuel line here. I'm going to put this one on this side. And you should just be able to push it down. This one's a little bit easier than others. My biggest thing is I hope this doesn't leak. In all honesty, I wish that this had a couple of more parts like the fuel tank grommet and like this gasket. That's really kind of the hold up here. Like I said, I don't think they really put their focus on this particular carburetor for the simple fact that they probably only sell like 5 of them a year. But hey, if you need one and watch this video, kudos to you. Sometimes make videos on the most obscure things, and sometimes the most obscure things are the ones that get a lot of recognition. One of them is an old Murray that had the Vanguard in it. Is the one that I can think of off the top of my head. Usually my Murray videos don't do very well, but that one did in particular. I think I titled it 30-year-old Murray rider lives on or something like that. Got that one for free and got $400 for it. All I had to do was put gas in the battery. I got that one from a family member, but that's a side story. Alright, all I've done is put the gas line on the fuel filter. I don't think I'm even going to worry about putting a clip on because these have the little kind of little keepers on the fuel filter itself. We're just going to push that back in. And I push that back in and just kind of get that line situated in there. Here's what I might do. I might pull it out. There we go. I think that may be enough line. Actually, it wouldn't be a bad thing if it's in the front, because most people are going to tilt their Weedeater up as they run it. So we'll cut it off about, let's see how this is going to orient itself. We'll cut it off about right there. Then we'll do number 2 here. Really? It's going to try and do that to me, huh? There we go. All right, we got it around. That works. I think that's what they wanted to do. Spun it around. We're going to do the same thing with this other line. So that's kind of the way I want it to orient itself. All right. This is the one I think that was really short. So, again, this is a return line, so we're just going to stick this thing in there. And I think the return line was one of these, so really it doesn't need to be that long. I'll cut it off right here. Okay. We got another line that's fairly short as well, so I just cut a line about, I don't know, I may have cut that one a little too short, but I got a little bit of, I might have cut that one a little bit too short. Darn it. I think I'm at the point where I want to get the carb on. We at least put the fuel lines on while we're here. This is your supply line, which goes in the bottom. Let's see, you may not even need clips. They may have not even came on this Weedeater. Somebody may have put them on there if they replace the fuel lines first. This is a little plastic nub here. Gotta get it on there. I'm going to work on that. And also what I'm going to do, I'm not going to let y'all watch me struggle with this. But I'm going to put the other one on this side, and then we'll go ahead and put that third line. Oh, this one goes from the primer bulb, so we'll worry with that third line from here to the primer bulb after this. All right, y'all. I think I'm at the point that we can do the primer bulb. Let me find my needle nose pliers in this. I think these will actually work okay. Yeah, we'll get that stuck down in there. Oh, it needs to be just a little bit wider. Come on, buddy. I'm going to break these, not break the tabs, but get these tabs to where they will push in. We're going to push that bulb out just like that. Remember that the outlet was on the bottom. It's not a big deal if you don't know what side it went on, but the outlet was on the bottom. That's the way that we routed the fuel lines as well, so it should just push right in just like that. Perfect. Now let me get one line cut here. Put this carb sandwich back together, I suppose. This line doesn't need to be long at all. We will put it on this little plastic nub. Eventually, once you get this lined up right, it starts to go on, and once you get it started, you're okay. That's what, I mean, you want a tight fit with your fuel line, so you can't complain about that. But yeah, once you get it started, you can either just push it down, try to, or you can take some pliers and just kind of grab it like that, push it off. But I did it with the other one, where you could just grab it, push it on, and push it on. There we go. That's much better. Some people might heat up the lines as well to give them a little bit more flexibility. Just kind of depends on what you want to do. Excuse me. So now we're going to put this carb sandwich back together. See if we can do this. Remember, these are going to go into there. This is honestly probably going to be the tricky part of this. Remember, this one's going to go into the top primer bulb. You might have a little bit of difficulty just because of access. Sometimes it's easier to do it when the primer bulb is actually off the mounting plate here. I just forgot on this one. I'm going to see if I can do it right here for us. Yeah, we got it. So that's the little hole. That's the one that sucks And then we'll get the big one in. This is the one that's probably going to be a little bit more difficult just because of space. But I think we got it. Yeah, we got it. Alright, so now let's take the throttle cable, put it in here, and take the first part of the first step here for the carb, which is actually to put this gasket on in between. That's the way that it was originally, or at least when I got it. So it must have ran for a while after they fixed it, so it means it's somewhat correct, I suppose. Why fix what works? That's my motto. Alright, we're going to push this return line on the power bulb a little bit more here. See if we can get it down there a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. Alright, so now we're going to take our custom gasket here. Like I said, I don't really feel... Oh, I think I screwed it up. Maybe I didn't. I didn't screw it up that bad. And then put it on here. We'll go ahead and attach our wires. Oh Lord, which way did these go? Of course, both of them are black. Ugh. I think they went like that. It makes sense, wouldn't it? Yeah, I cut that second fuel line a little bit too low, I think. We'll see if we can put it back in there. Struggle bus. There we go. All right. See if we can get it back in there. No, I'll have to replace that. I cut it too short. That's all right. Luckily, I didn't cut a long length of one. I think I can put that one back on with this carb on the Weedeater here. Looks like we got a good seal on the on that gasket. We'll see if it works. If not, we'll experiment a little bit more. Remember, you can't expect a lot of this aftermarket stuff to be exactly plug and play. So kind of take it with a grain of salt, I suppose. Most of the kits are going to be the same. I think we'll be able to get this in with no issues. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll cut it, like I said, I'm going to cut it a little bit longer than I had it. I'll cut it a little bit longer than that, actually. And I'll put this line on. This premise is the same. And I'll see what I can do when it comes to figuring out an air filter for this thing, because that's really the one thing that I wish it had that it does not. Alright, so I had a Weedeater, or no, it was a chainsaw air filter from one of my previous HiPA kits that I got from them, and cut it to fit. It was one of them you know, around the world type filters. So you have this open, but this is where the filtration comes in. So I just took the grooves and punched holes in them, and then just cut around it with a utility knife. Looks like it's going to work. Let me show you the fuel line setup one last time, just to make sure you got it right if you're working on this. Here is the fuel filter for the, goes from the fuel filter up through the tank into this, which I feel like we need to turn, but it'll work. So it goes into the carb, out from the carb to the primer bulb, the small nipple on the primer bulb, and then out the big nipple of the primer bulb down the return line back into the tank. So that's how it is. See if I can muster this. The choke's also on the cover. Don't forget to put your throttle back on. Looks like that's working properly. So it was just a couple of bolts, or a couple of set screws to get that out. Now it's just a matter of lining this bag up, pushing it in. Remember, this is non-adjustable carb, so we'll see if it works. I'm a little bit skeptical, but this one was kind of a runner when it came in, so we'll see if it gets back onto the Spectrum. One other thing that you don't get is a spark plug. So there's 3 things I wish that we would have gotten. One of them gaskets, spark plug, and air filter. But we made it work. So let me get this down. I will put some fuel mix in it, and we'll see if we can fire this thing off. Alright, y'all, so let's see if it runs. We'll prime it up. Prime's great. Let's see if it'll run for us. Oh, choke. Full choke. There we go. Let's see, it ain't running a while, so. Back it off a little bit. We got to back the throttle off a little bit. That thing is leaking a little bit out of the tank and the grommet, but I knew that. That's always good when you can get it that low. Yeah, it's leaking out of the tank pretty bad at that rubber grommet. I don't know what exactly I can do about that, but the premise is the carb works fine. I'll see what I can do with that. I might be able to throw an O-ring or something in that little grommet there to see if it will, you know, hold okay. Like I said, the premise is still the same. Carb works fine, which is nice. Works. Like I said, I wish it came with that rubber grommet, but it does not. So we'll have to improvise a little bit. Alright guys, one challenge that I have learned here with this one, as you can see, I've done a little bit of weed whacking with it. But one challenge that I have learned is that, like, if you start it back up immediately, it's fine. But if you let it sit for like 10 or 15 minutes and try and start back up, it's a little difficult. So I have done this here, 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to see how easy it starts back up now. Obviously, I had to do a little finagling with the cover and the, not the cover, but the gaskets to make it work. Also, I'll show you after I try and crank it. It has gotten better. I do have to remember that these things probably ain't been run in years, so they're not going to be perfect right off the bat. But it seems like this one's all right. Like I said, you saw it restarted right back up. You got to play with the choke a little bit in order to make it work, it seems. But that's all right. Oh, the thing that I mentioned with the gas tank. It is not 100% leak proof, but it does seep just a little bit. It's not pouring out like it did. What I was able to do was get an O-ring down there and push it through with a screwdriver to make that seal tighter. And you can see it's nowhere near as loose as it was. So that's a quick tip. An experiment. It is not 100% sealed, but it's probably about 95% of the way. It does seep out just a little bit, but it's not to the point where it's dangerous or it's gonna leak out all over. Sorry if my hand's shaking a little bit, because those weed eaters make me do that. But I'm gonna wash this thing. I'll give y'all a nice little clean. We'll evaluate this weed eater here and give a follow-up on this HiPA carburetor. All right, guys, this one cleaned up nicely. Got some of the dust and the grass and the dirt and stuff. I think I forgot to mention I put a bump feed head on, and I found one that would work, and it's working just fine so far. So I'll take it. Reuse the nut that I had. Bump feed heads, I think, are the best heads. They're the most common, and yeah, if somebody is going to change the head out to a custom head, they're going to do it themselves. Most people, that's what they want, in my experience. Again, I'm not going to make a killing off of this thing, but it is getting easier and easier to start after it's been sitting. What I'm going to do is let it sit overnight, start it in the morning, make sure that it will start and run just fine after that before I list it. I always let my 2 cycles sit overnight after I do work to them to see if they will run properly. So that's it for this one. Again, these don't really make me a lot of money. However, it helps you all, because if you're working on this yourself, you find my video and it helps me out a little bit. We're helping out HiPA. Thank you, HiPA, again for sending this carb kit. Again, they always ask for feedback. My feedback on this one would be the carb kit works good. I wish it would have come with an air filter, and I wish that it would have come with that big mounting gasket. Maybe we were able, like I said, we were able to make that other one work. So we had to do a little improvising with that, with the gasket, and with the air filter. But again, if you just have a piece of foam at home or something like that, you can cut out an air filter. So we had to improvise a little bit. Again, at the price point that you can get these things at, I think you can get this carb for under $20. We brought back a Weedeater, like I said, fixing it for 20 bucks in like 30-40 minutes is cheaper than if you went out and bought one. And this one right here is probably, I mean, it's got the attachments and stuff on it, so it's the equivalent of like if you went out and spent about $130, $140 on a Weedeater in today's times, maybe even more depending on how inflation's going. But this, like I said, works just fine. It is non-adjustable, which kind of stinks. Luckily, this one works good. It's very similar to like a Ryobi carburetor, from what I could tell. The newer ones, not the older ones that you've seen in my video. So, we got the fuel seepage fixed good enough to where it's going to work fine. And we got it nice and clean. Probably going to be probably won't get more than $60 for this maximum, but that's okay. Again, an hour's worth of work, a carburetor that HiPA provided, and we're back on cruising, which is awesome. So again, thank you HiPA for the continued partnership. I'll let you know, they're working on some promotions, and I'll see what comes to fruition. I will put out a shorts video on that if all that comes to fruition, and we'll continue to get products from them. Hopefully some more like push mower, riding mower stuff, because I am running out of Weedeater stuff. So we'll see what ends up coming about that, but they have helped me get some things that have been down and out going, and it's been really cool, and the partnership's going really well. And it's thanks to y'all watching the videos that people like HiPA reach out to me to see if they want me to try some of their products, and we've had great success with them so far, and hopefully we'll have more continued success with them. If you have any questions about the video or any comments, feel free to reach out to me right here on YouTube, or Ellis at ellismowers.com, or on Instagram and Facebook at ellismowers09, and I will catch y'all on the next repair. Thanks as always. See you next time.